IVM.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Musafir Stories, India's very own travel podcast, where each week we share the journey of travelers in their own words and relive their experiences with you, our listeners.
Hey guys, welcome to a brand new episode of the Musafir Stories. On the podcast today, we host Krishan Insa, a traveler and a listener of the Musafir Stories, as he takes us to one of the lesser explored states in the northeast part of the country. So let's hop onto the episode and explore Tripura with Krishan Insa. So with that introduction, we'd love to welcome Krishan Insa to the Musafir Stories. Hey Krishan, thank you so much for being on the podcast. The intro I gave about you was pretty short and concise, so why don't you speak a little bit more about yourself and what you do?
Thank you, Seth. Yes, I have been traveling across India, and in particular, I have traveled widely in Northeast. In fact, I started traveling since my childhood. I still remember days back when I was 6 or 7 years old, and my school friend, we were used to pen down that which villages, which cities we are visiting. I still remember those days. So I can say that travel was my passion since childhood. As we grow up professionally, I took this as a bigger challenge so that I can explore more and more places. And particularly talking about Northeast, this was my sixth state out of seven sisters. Tripura is one of the northeastern states, and I planned my trip to Northeast. I started with Assam, then Arunachal, Nagaland, and I was planning for Tripura for quite some time. But the best time I was looking for, what time should I go to Tripura? And I have already visited Calcutta for Durga Puja, and I was wondering that why not to go to Tripura for having the view of Durga Puja, because Agartala and Tripura in general is the second most populated, the second highest Bengali populated state. So I did not find a better place to go other than Tripura to enjoy and celebrate the Durga Puja.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much for that quick overview, and yeah, thank you for also letting us know that you're taking us to Tripura. That's where we are going to be spending time talking about on the podcast today. For people who don't have a very good idea about the geographical location of Tripura, could you please outline this on a map where exactly Tripura is located?
Yes, so Tripura is in northeastern part, and the capital city is Agartala, which is very well connected by flight from different cities, maybe Calcutta, Guwahati, Delhi, Mumbai, and it also has a railway line, which a Delhi Agartala railway line is available. So people can come to Agartala, and even you can, if somebody is traveling by road, there is good connectivity with Silchar as well, which is again the city, big city in Assam. Silchar itself also has an airport. So there are multiple options. Whatever way you choose, by fly or by train or by road, the connectivity to Tripura is nowadays very, very good.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, so as you mentioned, Tripura is one of the northeastern states, like we call the seven. It's a part of the Seven Sisters, so eastern part of India. It's also one of the smaller states in India, right? The third smallest behind Sikkim and Goa. So fairly remote, but the good part is it's very well connected these days, and you won't have trouble accessing it from one of the main cities. In terms of the time which you chose to travel, you mentioned that you traveled there around Durga Puja, but is that a good time in terms of the weather conditions there to travel there?
Yes, actually, the actual travel season for Tripura starts around Durga Puja, and it goes until late February or early March. This is the best time. But if you want to have the vibes of the city, festivities, and see the real Bengali culture throughout the state, I would strongly recommend someone to visit it on Durga Puja, and you can plan the itinerary, which we might be discussing at a later part of the podcast today.
Okay, wonderful. And also, we've been touching upon a lot about Durga Puja, right? And its importance, and how there's a big Bengali population and influence in Tripura as well. So, for people who are not very familiar with Durga Puja itself, do you want to give a quick overview of the festival, its importance, how long it runs for, and details like that?
Definitely. So the first thing why I choose to go to Tripura when I read about Durga Puja, I came to know that there are more than 2,500 Durga Puja pandals in Tripura, and not only that, these are scattered all across the state. Actually, the Durga Puja is the festival of power, the 10th day of Navratris, which we celebrate in the month of October and November, English calendar if I talk about. And the festivities start on the day one, which is Mahalya, and it starts with Chokshudan, when the ritual of Chokshudan is performed. This is the Chokshudan is when the eyes of the goddess or statue of Durga are painted, and it is assumed that the goddess with her family members, including Lord Shiva, Ganesha, Saraswati, Kartikeya, they descend to the earth. So that is the day when we actually the festivities start, and then it continues for next 10 days. Moreover, what one very important aspect about Mahalya is in early 20th century, Shri Birendra Krishna Bhadra started on radio Mahalya Mahishasur Mardini, and this is the culture or the tradition which is going even till today. You will find every Bengali family and during the Mahalya getting up early in the morning at 5 a.m. and listening to the Mahalya Mahishasur Mardini. And once the Mahalya is completed, which is the first day, and then the subsequent second, third, fourth, fifth Navratris, and then comes Mahasashti, Mahasaptami, Mahaashtami, Mahanavami, and Vijayadashmi. These are the this is the event in chronologically how it is celebrated.
Okay, yeah, very interesting, and it's a very elaborate celebration with different ceremonies and different rituals happening each of these days. Did you also find, you mentioned that you had a chance to attend or be a part of the Durga Puja celebrations in Kolkata. Did you find any stark differences between the two, or were there more similarities? What was your feeling?
Yes, so yes, I have got an opportunity to visit Durga Pandals in Calcutta as well as even in London, where I have seen all these pandals from Calcutta live. And when I was in Calcutta and when I was in London seeing the pandals, these were very glamorous pandal, big pandals, and I was wondering that what will be different if I go to Tripura. And one thing which I found very different is the themes of the pandals in Calcutta are very glamorous big pandals, but when you go to Tripura you will find the diversity in the pandals, which I just want to mention. I have seen the pandals in Tripura which has like zero carbon footprint. I must say the completely biodegradable pandals, and there are as good as, if I talk about glamour, there was Burj Khalifa, there was Kailash Parvat, Meenakshi Temple, Ram Mandir, and I was amazed. Wow, where are these thoughts coming from? How they are designing the pandals? When I went one of the pandals, Seth, I must mention that football theme was there. Flower shaped pandals were there, and not only that, I have seen one of the pandal which was completely made out of bamboo with zero plastic uses. I was amazed to say, myself as an energy and climate professional, I really like that these kind of things are being taken care in this part of the world. And not only that, Tripura has various tribes, and the tribal culture is very much prevailing there, and the culture is very rich and heritage rich culture they have. So one of the pandal which I visited in the remote part of Tripura was completely on Tripuri tribes, which I was amazed to see. So yes, this is the difference. Although I am not saying that these kind of pandals are not there in Calcutta, but Calcutta pandals are more glamorous and with more branding and hi-fi.
Yeah,
Yes,
very
but
grand.
there is lot more diversity in Tripura.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, I think that's great to know. And for somebody looking for, again, a different experience during Durga Puja, I think it's a great idea to visit Tripura, and like you mentioned, Tripura has a big Bengali influence and a big Bengali population also, right? I understand about 70% of the population is Bengali, and if you're wondering how that there is that much influence, even though Tripura doesn't necessarily share a direct border with West Bengal, it was basically during the partition in 1947 when there was the first wave of migration of the Bengali population, and again after East Pakistan became Bangladesh in 1971, there was a second wave of migration. And I think historically as well, there has always been, given the closeness, there has always been influence. But it's great that something like Durga Puja kind of plays out in such a unique fashion in Tripura. So for somebody who's getting a chance, I definitely recommend trying that experience out. And we'll definitely find out a little bit more as we go through the different pandals, doing pandal hopping, right, as they say, with Kishan during the course of this conversation. Now, getting our focus quickly back to Tripura and your stay and your itinerary in Tripura, what kind of, or how long of an itinerary did you plan while making this visit?
Yes, so I reached there on Mahasasti. I traveled from by air, and we landed to Agartala airport on Sasti by afternoon. We had planned in that way so that we can go in the evening and do some pandal hopping, which is actually the first day of big celebration of Durga Puja. On this day, actually, it is the tradition is that gods gifted the different weapons to Durga to kill Mahishasura. This is the day. It is assumed that this day the goddess get ready with her weapons, and pandal start getting ready. Actually, people bring idols at their home and start decorating them with flowers, clothes, jewelry, red vermilion, etc., etc. So many things. So this is the day when we reached Agartala and did the pandal hopping in the evening. On second day, which was Saptami, on Saptami, the main ritual is Pran Pratishthan. The Pran Pratishthan is to invoke the goddess in the holy presence of in the idols. That is what Pran Mahasaptami is called. So after doing pandal hopping on 6th evening, what we did is we on the next day on which was 7th, we did Mahasaptami. We did local sightseeing. The day was started with Heritage Park actually, and then we went to Albert War Memorial, which you have also touched upon the 1971 war and East Pakistan things. The hero of that particular war was Albert Eka, in whose memory the war memorial is being constructed by government. And he was awarded the highest gallantry award posthumously for his contribution for the ultimate sacrifice what he has done for the country. One thing I want to mention, somebody who is starting, who want to visit Tripura in totality in one trip, and if starting the trip from Agartala, I will say Heritage Park is the best place to start your journey because Heritage Park has lot many. They have made small models of different monuments and their geographical location within the state. In fact, I had my own itinerary before going there, but when I went to Heritage Park, I could understand, okay, this is the route map, this is the place, and this much of time it is taking. So I have made little changes based on all the models and map what I have seen in the Heritage Park. Okay. So before going to any place, you will have an overview of the whole Tripura in that park, and of course you will have walk through the park, that what kind of flowers, faunas, and what all vegetations are there in the state. So we started with Heritage Park. After finishing that, we went to Albert Eka Museum. Both of these things we finished before breakfast, which helped us saving on the ticket because we went in the morning walkers time. Okay. Nobody was there. Okay. And then we had our breakfast. Then subsequently we went to Ujanta Palace, which is also called State Museum.
Right. And quickly, again, just revisiting this. So your total itinerary was for what, 5-6 days, or how long of a trip was this?
Yes, it was for 5 days, starting from Mahasasti afternoon, and then we finished our day on the Vijayadashmi.
Okay, great. Lovely. So you gave us a quick overview of the Heritage Park and Albertica Eka Museum or the War Memorial that you visited. Do you want to quickly give an overview of the Ojanta Palace or the State Museum? That is also one of the very iconic buildings and a very grand palace, you could say, right? It was previously a palace and now turned into a state museum. Do you want to give a quick overview about that? What type of an architecture that is, and also within the museum, what type of things and artifacts one gets to see?
Yes, so I never actually, as I mentioned in my previous talk, that I have already explored 6 states in Northeast, but I never imagined that there will be a fort or palace like this in this part of country. When I read about it, I was surprised to know that there is a palace, and this is a royal palace actually of Tripura Kingdom, which was built by Maharaja Radha Kishore Manikya in somewhere in 1900, and it is a beautiful palace. So I spent about couple of hours there. A couple of things which I really liked is that it is really a state museum where you get to know about food, about traditional dresses, about their what different tribes have been doing, how they have been living, what they have been wearing, how the state has developed over the period of time. As I mentioned that if you are starting your day with Heritage Park and then going to then you're going to Ujanta Palace, this will be a perfect start for you to understand that which kind of culture, which kind of heritage you are going to explore in next couple of days.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously at the beginning we were kind of stressing on the Bengali influence here, but to your point, there's a lot of different tribes as well within the state, right? The indigenous tribes, there's at least 19 of them that I came across. And after you spent a little while at the Ojanta Palace in the museum, what was planned next?
So before I went there, and in fact before I started my Northeast travel, everybody used to ask me, "Oh, Krishan, you are a vegetarian person. What you will have in Northeastern state?" When I went to Nagaland, when I went to Tripura, when I went to Bengal, you will have trouble. So, but unfortunately, the story has been always different. I always enjoyed the wonderful meals despite being vegetarian. And then we had lunch in the city, a pure vegetarian restaurant, and amazing Bengali sweets, Bengali dishes. After lunch, then we went for the Bangladesh border for retreat ceremony. So many of fellow travelers must have gone to Baga border for retreat ceremony, and this is a complete different kind of retreat ceremony because for Baga border you have to queue up at 2 o'clock and then you have to wait for 3 hours, 4 hours for sitting. But the story on this part of the country for retreat ceremony is completely different. You just go there, the crowd is very very less, and you just get to enjoy the same vibes. You feel patriotism and see that how the borders are being kept and how they are protected by our military men and all border security forces, etc. The beautiful thing in the difference between if you go to Baga border and on this Agartala in Agartala for Bangladesh border, in Baga border you have to sit very far and the crowd is huge, but in here you will have a couple of hundred chairs on this side and couple of hundred chairs on that side, and then flag hosting is done. So that is a wonderful evening to be spent there. And one thing which I would just wanted to mention for just for the sake of record for those who are planning to go in the eastern part of the country, the sunset takes place early.
Right.
So you should not think that you are going to Baga border where the sunset will take place at 6:30 or even later than 6:30 depending on the season. So you should reach there ideally by 3:30 or 4, and sunset the retreat ceremony start taking place at 4:30 or 4:45, and which finishes by not late than 5:30.
Yeah, definitely low-key affair, but like you mentioned, the vibe of the place is very similar to what you would have at Baga, right? So make it a point. Again, it's an integrated checkpost with Bangladesh. I believe there are plans to create a similar kind of a gallery as they have in Baga in the future, sometime in the future. But yeah, in the meantime as well, you could definitely visit here and take part of a different type of a retreating ceremony. Cool. I'm assuming that's pretty much the second day done, right? Given that this is almost evening by this time, and did you have plans for pandal hopping after this?
Of course, the most important part, the evening was definitely reserved for pandal hopping, and of course, delicious Bengali street food to be enjoyed during this peak season. So when we went for pandal hopping on Saptami, this was Mahasaptami, the idols were dressed in a sari. The Ma Durga was in sari, and when I went to main city center, Agartala city center, I was like, oh my god, where I am. The whole crowded place. There was hardly any place to walk on the road. But that is what you enjoy actually, the festivities and charm, positive energy everywhere. And on that day also, like we walked almost into 70 to 80 pandals, and finished our day quite late and came back hotel back by 10 or 9:30 or 10 after a long day.
Okay. In terms of, I know you mentioned about the food, right? Was there anything specific you'd like to call out in terms of, especially the vegetarian food that you enjoyed in Tripura?
Of course, Bengali sweets, and that too at puja time. Chhena sweets, so many chhena sweets. I'm just fond of sweets, and that was the best time to go there. And the pani puri. So pani puri, you call it pani puri, you call it puchka, you call it gulugappa, you call it whatever. You go in different part of country, you will get it almost everywhere.
Right.
But the taste is everywhere different. And when I went to Agartala, and when I enjoyed it, oh, this is different. This is yummy. So yes, that definitely the sweets, Bengali sweets and pani puri, I really like in Agartala.
Okay, that's great. And in terms of your plans for next day, I know this has been a busy day with a lot of the sightseeing and then obviously the pandal hopping. What did you have in plan for day of the Ashtami?
So I just before I come to plan next day plan, I just wanted to mention about local transportation. The local transportation is very, very affordable in Agartala. In fact, when we went from airport, we could get a shared auto in 20 rupees. And day 1 and day 2 we did on public transport in the city. From day 3 we hired a scooty, and we started in the morning to this was the day for a long ride to Jampu Hills. And we started like about 8 a.m. after finishing our breakfast and checking out from the hotel, and we drove all the way from Agartala to Jampu Hills. Almost there was a pandal after every, I'll say after every kilometer, 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer. So that will be like that is the I can say that maximum distance where did we get, right? If some village is coming in between, in one village we can get maybe 30 pandals, 40 pandals, and so we made it sure that from Agartala to Jampu Hills, as many as pandals are coming on the way, we made it sure that we stopped at every pandal just to take blessings, maybe for 30 seconds or 60 seconds, have a photo clicked, and then move on. By the time we reached to Jampu Hills, and there is a state government guest house called Eden Resort, which we booked before. Okay. It was almost sunsetting, and we reached on the sunsetting time, and then we ordered our food, and the food was again Bengali food was served, which like had dal, rice, and salad, then bhaji, along with puri or roti, whatever you want. And which was served very nicely and very affordable prices. So yes, after sunset we had last 2 long days, so we get to go to bed little sooner on this day.
Okay, great. And how much of a distance is this Jampu Hills from Agartala?
So it was about 200 kilometers.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, you could definitely do it. It's just that you chose to do it at a slower pace, right? So that you could enjoy the pandals on the way on road as well, right? So that's the idea. And do you want to give a little bit of a background about Jampu Hills as well, and what you were looking forward to the next day?
Yes. So actually, Jampu Hill, when we start from Agartala, if you reach up to Kumar Ghat, which is like 130-140 kilometers from Agartala, the road is plain, and after that the hilly region of Tripura starts, and Jampu Hills is one of the most beautiful scenic hilly range of Tripura, and so which is like 60-70 kilometer range, and you can have beautiful views, misty views of Tripura, and also you can go to in the next morning. Actually, we went to Battling Chip, which is peak of Tripura, and which is 32 kilometers from Eden Resort, actually, where we stayed in Jampu Hills. And so when you go there, we went there super morning, like 4:30, just we wanted to make sure that we want to have a sunrise view
Right.
at peak of Tripura. There were people who opted to choose at homestays in the village, but people, if somebody is interested to stay in homestay, then they can go to Battling Chip in the previous day only, or if somebody wanted to stay in the resort, then they can stay in Jampu Hills Resort.
Okay.
So we had sunrise view there. Then we went to Battling Chip, which is peak of Tripura. After few kilometers, the Mizoram border starts. So we went up to that place, and then we came back to hotel, and then we had our breakfast, and started.
Okay, cool. So yeah, beautiful, and obviously one of the hill ranges of Tripura. So you get some stunning views from there. So make sure you catch those views as well as sunrise. Right. Again, given in the eastern region, the sunrise is also very early. So make sure you plan those things accordingly as you get there. What was your rest of the day like? What was planned for the rest of the day?
When we started back from Tripura's peak, on the way back, we have also visited Tripura's cleanest village, Wangham.
Okay.
And then we started back. And today we had plans to, enjoy the paragliding in Jampu Hills, which was just started some time back by the state government. And we went to paragliding takeoff point. We enjoyed paragliding there, and then we started from Jampu Hills, and we drove back to Unakoti.
Okay, cool. Pretty much most of the day, I think you spent in and around the area, plus at Wangum, right? The cleanest village in Tripura that you mentioned. Those are the two stops you did, and then on road from here, you made the next pit stop at Unakoti, you're saying. Unakoti is something that probably most people outside of Agartala would have heard about, right? I know it's not still as mainstream as some of the other popular monuments in India. It's definitely not as popular as that, but something that definitely does deserve more attention. Do you want to speak a little bit more about this site and what one can see, and also a little bit about its background?
Yeah, so actually Unakoti, what I understand, is a Bengali term, and it is Una means one less, Koti means crore,
Right.
1 crore. It is one less than 1 crore. And that many statues, stones are there, which is assumed, like I don't know if anybody has counted or like that, and if anybody can count that many, but it is assumed that one less than 1 crore stones or statues or idols are there.
99,99,999. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So, but few of them are very, very prominent,
Right.
like Ganesha, Shiva, Lord Shiva, and the whole family. And there are lot many temples, temples kind of thing. Local people visit out there, and they just do worship on regular basis. It is a kind of park, very well maintained, and for if you're going with family and friends, like it's a good place to spend some time and see that what was the Stone Age history of this place.
Yeah, it is beautiful. I mean, you could almost say like it's a archaeological site, right? It has a lot of these stone sculptures and a little bit of background as well. I'm sure you also came about this when you visited the place. It is believed that Lord Shiva, along with the 99,999,999, right? Whatever, one less than 1 crore.
Yes.
Gods was actually en route to Kashi, and they had made a stop at this place, and they were supposed to leave for Kashi the next morning, and I believe Lord Shiva had basically requested all of the other gods to wake up before sunrise so they can start on their journey, but none of them woke up. So Lord Shiva, in his temperament, he basically, I won't say cursed, but he basically turned them into stone, right? And those are the sculptures we see there. That's one of the legends of the place, right? Yeah.
Yes, you stole my words actually, and that is the local people told. Yes, that story we have been knowing for ages and listening to this same story, and it is very much true.
Yeah, yeah, and there's also like a little waterfall in between. Again, I'm not talking like a massive waterfall. It's a little creek. I don't know how that came about, but yeah, there's a lot of these stone sculptures spread across a wide area, and it's a beautiful sight. It's just that it's very, very unique, and for especially for somebody making a trip to this part of the country, it's definitely worthwhile, and it's unfortunate that a lot of people actually don't know about this. It's just such a beautiful place and totally worth a visit. Would you say that on the return trip from Jampu Hills to Agartala, is this somewhere en route, or do you have to make a little bit of a deviation to get to Unakoti?
So yes, so this was Maha Ashtami day, and we decided to stay in Madarhat, where we booked the lodge on walk-in basis, which was very much available, and there were lot many pandals in Madarhat as well. And coming to the again to the importance of Maha Ashtami, which is celebrated on this day. On this day, the prayers are being offered to goddess for her battle against Mahishasura. Actually, this is the day when it is assumed that the battle will start, and people offer flowers, fruits, sari, grains, crowns, etc., to idols for and pray for her win over Mahishasura. So on this day, we stayed in Madarhat and did pandal hopping in that smaller town.
Okay. Okay, that's beautiful. And thank you so much. I mean, even from a perspective, I know we're covering off all of the points of interest and everything, but you're giving us such beautiful tidbits about each of these days of the Durga Puja celebration, right? Starting from, obviously, you gave us the overview starting from the Mahalaya, but even on the individual days, 6th, 7th, and now 8th day, you're giving us what happens unique on that day, what are the different types of pandals you're seeing and all of that. It definitely helps one build an overall image of the celebration. So I really, really appreciate that. And after having spent the night at Madarhat, what was the plan for next day?
So yes, next day it was again something adventurous to be done, and we moved from Madarhat to Chabimura. Sabimura is also called, and so the main purpose to go to Sabimura was there is a lake, and there are lot many adventurous activities out there. So we did power boat riding there. Then the guys will take you to the caves, then you can and just go inside the caves, which are quite deep, and there are lot many sculptures outside. When you go on the powerboat ride into the river, I don't remember the name of the river,
Right.
and then you will get to see so many sculptures out there as well, the kind of sculptures or stones you have seen in Koti. Not much, but one or two, and you get to have a sense of caves out there, which goes quite deep, and little waterfalls coming on in those caves.
Yeah.
So it's a good picnic spot for to spend some couple of hours there as well. And if you're interested in power boat ride as well,
Yeah.
then because we did not spend much of time there because we were bound to go to Neer Mahal on the same day.
Right. So yeah, basically this is on the Gomati River. That's the river, one of the rivers that passes through Tripura. That's and Chabimura is basically a lot of these rock sculptures on the. Yeah, I don't know if you can say banks of the rivers, but yeah, by the river, right? You have all of these rocks,
Yes.
and you have sculptures made on these rocks, and even these are magnificent, right? I mean, firstly, having had made these in such a unique location, right, on the river banks or by the river almost, and some of these also are outstanding, right? Especially the one of Mahishasura-Mardini, I believe, and one has to
Yes.
take a boat ride, right? So again, very, very unique to the place, and lesser known also. Again, not too many people know about this, but it's great that you got an opportunity to visit all of these places. Having spent some time here at Chabimura, I believe there's also a lake in the vicinity. It's called as the Dambur I don't know how you pronounce that.
Yes.
But it's supposed to be one of the largest lakes or the largest lake in the state as well. And it's also quite popular among the local population as well as people visiting the state. So if you have a chance, you should definitely make it a point to visit that. I don't know if you had a chance to visit that, Mission, but this is also something that is quite unique in the region.
This is called Coconut Island as well, and we did not plan to go to the go to that lake because we were more inclined to spend more time in Agartala and spending more time for pandal hopping and enjoying the food.
Okay, yeah, no worries. I mean, obviously, if somebody has additional time on hand, you could definitely choose to spend some time here as well. And you mentioned that the next stop for you on your way back, your journey back towards Agartala, was the stop at Nir Mahal. Is that correct?
You are right, and the Nir Mahal actually this is one of the only two palaces which are built in the water in India.
Right.
One is in Rajasthan, and second one is this. So we spoke about Ujanta Palace, which is in Agartala, the royal palace. Actually, the Nir Mahal is also the palace for a royal family, but it was a summer residence of Maharaja Bir Bikram Kishore Manikya, and it was built somewhere around in 1920s. And so the important thing which I have experienced about Nir Mahal is we deliberately planned to reach there in the afternoon, late evening, I'll say, because I personally felt that the views of the Nir Mahal keep changing on which time of the day you are seeing it, and on which time of the day you are taking a ferry to that place, because you have to reach there by a ferry. A ferry will take you, and the same ferry will bring you back. You can spend an hour there. So that's why we planned it to go on the second half of the day. I'll say this is kind of extension of Ujanta Palace, as I already mentioned that this is the summer residence of the royal family.
Yeah, I also believe it was built by the same company too. So obviously you might see some similarities from that perspective. But yeah, it is the biggest palace on water, right? The two that you mentioned in
Yes.
India, the other one being Jal Mahal in Jaipur, Rajasthan. This one is significantly bigger. So again, something that I was completely unaware of, and I always thought that perhaps Jaipur or Rajasthan is the only place where you actually have this kind of architecture. It's situated on the Rudrasagar Lake, I believe. So you have to take a ferry
Yes.
to reach the palace. And I also believe that in the month of August there is a water festival that happens here, where there's a lot of races, boat races and stuff like that. So if you happen to be in the region or visiting the region around that time of the year, this is also something you could definitely experience. So once you spent some time here visiting the Nir Mahal, what was on the plan next?
So yes, this was technically the last thing we wanted to cover on this day in our itinerary, and we started back for Agartala, but we made it sure that we should make a halt in Melaghar, where there were few very exciting and very unique pandals, and this is the Mahanavami day, which is the final day of the battle between Durga and Mahishasura. On this day as well, in different parts of the country, not only in Tripura, ritual is called Kumari Puja, when the little girls are worshipped with they are being offered with jewelry, makeup, and they resembles like goddess on that day. So when we stopped in Melaghar, at first instance we felt that we have entered the Agartala city. But actually it was not. It was a small town. So why I mentioned that is subsequently on the next or very next day, I came to know that many people go all the way from Agartala to Melaghar to see various pandals. So we spent a couple of hours there, and then we headed back to Agartala.
Okay, cool. And so basically you're in Agartala for the day of the Vijayadashmi, right?
Yes. So the day actually did not end for us on this day, Saif, you'll be surprised. So we reached actually in hotel like about 7:30 in the evening. And we had plans that we'll go out for a couple of hours, because today is the last day. Mahanavami is the last day actually, because from tomorrow Visarjan will start. So what we did is we planned to go out around 9 o'clock and come back by 11 o'clock in the night for after pandal hopping. but it started raining and kept raining. Then finally we started from the hotel at 11 o'clock in the night, and we did the pandal hopping the whole night. And we did the pandal hopping on the whole night, and it was so amazing after like little rain, and weather was so clean, so much energy in the environment, and visiting all the pandals. And I don't know like how realistic it looks for you, since this was our last day for pandal hopping. We counted, literally we counted that how many pandals we could cover and how many pandals we could visit. We covered in last 5 days we covered 1,384 pandals.
Oh my God! out of the roughly 2,500 you said, right?
Out of 2,500.
Oh my God, that's like literally more than half of them, right? Yeah, amazing. And this last, you're saying the night of Navami, right? You basically spent the whole night pandal hopping, correct?
Yes, and the day of Mahanavami ended for us at 8 a.m. on Vijayadashmi, or 8 in the morning.
Okay.
And then we had a very good heavy breakfast, and then good nap till afternoon, and then evening. The evening is Vijayadashmi actually, and which is again very very special. What we all call Durga Puja, Vijayadashmi. Different part of the country celebrated in different ways. So this is the final day when Ma Durga, after killing the devil Mahishasura, returns to her husband. This is the day when it is considered that she returns to her husband, and the statues of Durga are carried to river to be submerged. So Ma Durga considered to go back to the place to her place. There are few puja pandals which are as old as more than 7 centuries.
Oh wow! Okay.
And the oldest pandal now is Rajbari Durgabari temple, which is now in Agartala actually. And this is considered to be the state owned or state administered puja pandal.
Okay.
And on the 10th day, on Vijayadashmi, on Durga Puja day, the idols are taken for the immersion, and which is led by Durgabari actually. The first Visarjan takes place of Durgabari temple idols, which is with full state owner, state police, and national songs on the road. So many like state machinery, and the whole people, and the people from the city, and government officials, everybody comes down, and this is the first puja Visarjan take place in the city of Agartala, and followed by all other. When these idols of Ma Durga is taken for the Visarjan, married women get together to bid farewell to Durga by giving offering of red vermilion powder, smearing themselves with it. This is actually to symbolize the status of being married as well as fertility. That is again the goddess of power also we say, and the power of the goddess of fertility. So roads are when you go to any Bengali city on Vijayadashmi, when the Durga idols are taken for Visarjan, roads are full of red color vermilion, and definitely this when you attend this you feel very energetic and powerful. That is why what I felt is the festival of energy and power.
Yeah, absolutely. And also it's quite the grand finale for you also, right? And for the trip, in terms of all of the experiences you've been going through to come to this conclusion with the Visarjan on the day of the Dashmi, and I'm sure it was electrifying atmosphere and environment to be in. Now, in terms of your interactions with the people in the area, I know we've mentioned all along the conversation that there is a significant Bengali influence, but is one able to get along with English and Hindi, or a combination of the two, or did you find any difficulties in getting along?
So I'll come to your question, but my Durga Puja celebration will not complete until I appreciate and I recall the food, the bhog, traditional dishes I got on the Vijayadashmi,
Yeah, absolutely.
which has a different kind of power, because it's a bhog and it includes mixed vegetable curry, one sweet dish you'll have, and something fried item, maybe fried brinjal or something fried pumpkin, and then chutney, and then khichdi, of course, along with luchi. Luchi is puri actually. It is called luchi, and ghugni. And people who eat fish is it's called ilish bhapa. Of course, every Bengali dish you'll have mustard gravy. I must say that if you are in Tripura, if you are there on Durga Puja, do not afford to miss bhog. Which includes all these items, and I ate it a lot. I ate it a lot, really. So coming back to what you have asked regarding the language things, yes, if you know Hindi or English, you can very comfortably do it. Most of the Bengali people understands Hindi, and there is no challenge as such in terms of language.
Okay, that's great to know. And even besides the Bengali population, right, like we mentioned, there's a variety of other tribes, the indigenous tribes of the region as well, right from I believe the Kokborok, apparently one of the other languages in Tripura that's spoken around the most after Bengali and English, and even in terms of the local tribes, right, right from the Riang to Jamatia to Chakma, Halam, there's a lot of different names. Just picked up a few. Thank you to Wikipedia. There's a lot of different local tribes there, and each one has their own unique traditions, right from costumes to traditions. They have their own culture, and some of them, or actually a lot of them, have their own unique festivals also. So Durga Puja obviously is one of the bigger festivals of the region, but if you get a chance to stay here for a longer time or visit during another time of the year, make sure you check in on if you get the opportunity to be a part of any of these other local festivals or their art forms, right? A lot of them are very, very prominent in their art forms as well during their festivals, so it might be a good opportunity to be a part of that. But yeah, overall, any final thoughts, Christian, before we start wrapping the episode up?
So I just wanted to mention one thing. Whosoever is planning for traveling to Northeast, yes, every state has unique culture. There are so many tribes in different states, and they have different culture. They have different food habits, different clothing, and many more things. The culture of festivals is very much is there in Northeast. You go to any state, be it Arunachal, there are lot many festivals in Arunachal, Mizoram. I have recently attended Chapchakut in Mizoram as well. If you go to Nagaland, they have different kind of festivals, Hornbill Festival, etc., many more. And if you have any, if you want to ask any question, feel free to hit me up for asking any kind of advices on travel to Northeast.
Wonderful. We'll make sure to include your social media handles as well, and that way people interested in making these who are planning these trips, they can reach out to you with any questions. And again, reminds me of the initial conversations we were having, Christian, and I know I had mentioned to you that Tripura, especially an itinerary of Tripura, is a little hard to come by. There's not a lot of people who are traveling there, but hopefully with this experience you've shared, it inspires other people to also visit to another part of the country, right? I know Northeast is slowly opening up, but even within the Northeast, I think Tripura is one of the lesser explored places so far. So it's great, and I really appreciate and thank you for being on the podcast and covering an experience and itinerary of visiting Tripura, and especially visiting Tripura during the Durga Puja. Thank you, Christian. Looking forward to hearing more from you and following your work.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Seth. Thank you for having me, and keep inspiring people, and happy to be part of it. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Christian. That was yet another great episode on the Musafir Stories. Make sure to show us some love by sharing the podcast with your friends and family. We are on Instagram and Twitter at Musafir Stories. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM podcast app or the website. Follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram.